It was one of the biggest film hits of 2023, certainly the most surprising, but it did not come without controversy as well. You can stream it now at home on Amazon Prime. Let's talk about Sound of Freedom. Hey guys, Dan here. This is Dan Reviews It. Welcome to my movie review for Sound of Freedom. This was a huge hit at the box office, but it had a lot of controversy surrounding it as well. And now that I'm sort of looking at my 2023 movies that I want to review before I decide on my best and worst of the year, this one had to be in the mix. It was a huge hit. But now that it's available on Amazon Prime, finally got to see it. So we'll talk about this movie, Sound of Freedom, in just a moment. First, though, let me welcome you into Dan Reviews It. Thank you for finding this video. We do movie and TV reviews here, and just about every day something new goes up. So always a lot to check out. So consider subscribing, hit that notification bell, hit that like button. All that stuff, of course, does help the channel out. All right, so Sound of Freedom, this was ruling the box office all summer. It was out for a few months, really, and it ended up with almost $200 million in U.S. box office, something that really nobody expected. But that number, even in and of itself, comes with controversy. We'll talk about that. But, I mean, this was holding its own with a lot of heavyweights. It is number 9 for the year, according to U.S. box office, which places it between John Wick Chapter 4 and Taylor Swift, The Eras Tour. So, you know, obviously two big names there, and Sound of Freedom sort of came out of nowhere. So, look, this is now available for free on Amazon Prime, so it was the time for me to view this movie. I had sort of avoided it when it very first came out because it was just surrounded by all this controversy that I'll talk about. And then, it kept chugging along at the box office. However, the theater I usually go to only would have like 1 or 2 shows of it, and they were at night when I was working. So I did not get to see it in theaters. And I figured it would come to streaming a little bit sooner than it did, but it didn't hit until the end of December. So finally, I was able to see this thing. So this movie had a lot of controversy. First of all, because of the subject matter, and I'll talk about the plot in a moment, but also because of the star, Jim Caviezel, and he's got some theories that I certainly don't agree with, but he is a big sort of conspiracy theorist, perhaps with some QAnon stuff. Look, I don't get political on my channel, but that is not my bag at all. But at the same time, you know, if I shied away from every single movie that had somebody in it that had a particular stance I didn't agree with, you know, I would never be able to watch a Tim Allen movie. I would never be able to watch a Mel Gibson movie, which, by the way, Mel Gibson, probably not coincidentally, is a producer on this film. So, you know, that was part of it. But then there was this other thing about the potentially inflated box office. Part of the success of this movie was fueled by people buying tickets for other people as part of this sort of grassroots campaign that the studio had for the film. But also, church groups would be buying like the whole theater out. Like they would buy, 200 tickets or whatever and give them out to the congregation and say, oh, if you want to go, go. And I know firsthand from people I know that work in movie theaters that was like, oh yeah, it would say it was sold out, and then I'd go in and there would be 10 people in there. So, some kind of inflation on the numbers as well. So I was like, all right, you know what? I need to distance myself a little bit before I review this, because I don't want to review this movie based on conspiracy theories or based on, maybe it did this much in box office, maybe it didn't. I just wanted to watch the movie as it stands. So that's what I did, and that's what I'm going to talk about. That's what I'm going to review about this movie, is the movie itself. So Sound of Freedom centers around this real-life dude, Tim Ballard, played here by Jim Caviezel. He is a former U.S. government agent embarking on a mission to rescue sex-trafficked children, primarily in Colombia. And he started this thing called the Operation Underground Railroad to get children out of those situations. And he is a real guy. Not everything in this movie is based in reality and his real story. From what I've read, some of it, maybe a lot of it, I don't know, has been embellished. But you know what? Again, all right, I don't think I expected this to be necessarily a straight up biography about this dude. I expected it to be an action movie. And that's more or less what I got. This movie actually was pretty much exactly to my expectations. You know, when it first came out, it was being bolstered by, I think, critics that had maybe seen advanced copies that they thought, okay, these guys will give a good grades. You know, for a while it was like in the 90s on Rotten Tomatoes, both with critics and audiences. But now that the dust has settled, it's at a 57% on Rotten Tomatoes with critics, and that is sort of what I was expecting with this movie. That rings a little more true to me. And for one thing, Jim Caviezel is not that great of an actor. You know, there's a reason I think we haven't really seen much from him, other than, you know, okay, yes, in the last few years, especially with the interviews he's been given and all, you know, all the sort of controversy surrounding him with, his conspiracy theories and whatnot. Okay, that could be part of it. But even then, we haven't really seen much of him in the last 15 years. I mean, he did Passion of the Christ. It was a big hit. And then he did that CBS show for a few years, Person of Interest. But other than that, you know, I have not seen much of him. And this movie, I think, kind of shows why. He's not that good of an actor. He's okay. But the best actors, I thought, in this movie were the kids. You know, and again, they're sort of no-name children. You know, they're not famous actors or anything. But I thought they were kind of the most authentic about this movie in terms of performances. Some of the side characters maybe as well. You know, some of the people he was working with or working against him. But it is all very much in the style of like Taken or any of the recent Liam Neeson movies, kind of at its best, which those are a dime a dozen anymore. And usually I don't grade those very high these days either, although that first Taken was very good. But at its worst, this is more like, you know, any random episode of Criminal Minds or NCIS or Law and Order SVU, you know, any of those shows that are just so filled with stock characters and, you know, basic action sequences. It obviously would be insane to say that, you know, sex trafficking and specifically that of children is not a problem. Of course it is. You know, and do we need a movie, you know, shining the light on that? I mean, yeah, we'll take it. I don't think we necessarily need to know that it's a problem. I think we generally know it's a problem. You know, and again, the first Taken movie sort of gives us that. Now, that had a more personal connection for the Liam Neeson character because it was his daughter that gets taken. And, of course, he's got that special set of skills. Whereas, you know, this is more general. Okay, let's, you know, stop, you know, all of this and get as many of these kids out as we can. So, you know, maybe a more heroic character than in Taken. But that being said, you know, Liam Neeson is, I think, a more gifted performer than Jim Caviezel. So look, the bottom line is this movie is about what I expected it to be. I thought it would be pretty average, a fairly average action movie, and that's what it turns out to be. Yeah, the messaging is great. And look, there's a few lines Caviezel has that are very, like, 90s action hero lines. You know, they're sort of quips, you could say. He delivers them okay. So, you know, you get a little bit of that as well. And again, you know, the messaging of the movie obviously is great. You know, sex trafficking is horrible. We got that part. But overall, this is just a fairly average action movie for me. And that's kind of what I expected going in, and that's what I've got. So if you can put aside, you know, all of sort of the controversy with the movie, and you want to see an action movie that maybe will make you go, you know, oh, hurrah, you know, for the heroes, you know, it may scratch that itch. If not, I think this could be a pass, and maybe just look into the real guy and sort of look up his achievements and all of that sort of thing. You know, you may be better served that way. So for me, I leave Sound of Freedom with a C. All right, and you can see that now, like I said, on Amazon Prime. So if you did miss it in theaters, you can check it out now if you have Prime Video. All right, thank you for watching Dan Reviews It. We will see you next time.